Keith Sellers. In the beginning, when God made the heavens and the earth, He created man in His very own image. And He gave us a commandment to fill the earth and to rule over it. Because God created us in His very own image, He gave us a tremendous propensity to bring good to the planet. And because we are fallen creatures, we possess a frightening tendency to abuse the sacred stewardships and the privileges that God has granted us. Our fallen nature prods us to accrue more wealth and more power at the expense of others and remain in a state of rebellion against God. Throughout human history, kings and conquerors rose up to gain more power and more authority, bringing human suffering and oppression throughout the planet. Not far from the plateau where I'm now standing on the south edge of Budapest, the armies of ancient kings and modern empires marched through and conquered to assert their hegemony. Just a short hike north of here, archaeologists discovered a place beside a creek bed where Romans built a settlement. The creek flows into the nearby Danube River. In the Roman era, this part of the world was called Pannonia. The Romans built outposts along the Danube River to protect the province of Pannonia from eastern invaders. Historians tell us that Caesar Augustus even visited this province. If you come to this field in the summertime, you can see lavender blooming. Scientists tell us that ancient Roman settlers brought the lavender from their Mediterranean climate so that they can experience it here. After the Roman Empire collapsed, other people groups moved into the area, like the Avars and then the Magyars. The Magyar people we call the Hungarians. And the early Hungarian kings fostered the development of Christianity in this part of Europe. They intermarried with other European peoples, and they even brought German knights into their court. Just a couple of hundred years after the Kingdom of Hungary was established, the Tatars, or also called the Mongols, invaded from the Far East. They came here and left a vast trail of human suffering and destruction. In the 1500s, the Ottoman Empire sought to expand her kingdom into this part of Europe. The Ottoman armies invaded and took over a large swath of the Kingdom of Hungary. They remained in this part of the world for at least 150 years. The Ottomans took slaves from this area and transported them as far as the Middle East. Just a 30-minute hike from here, you can see the ruins of an ancient church and monastery that the Ottoman armies destroyed. Eventually, a coalition of European forces united with the Habsburgs to drive out the occupying Turkish armies from the nearby hills of Buda. For many years, the Hungarians struggled with how to relate to the occupying Habsburg kingdom. Eventually, new ideas arose in Europe, and the old worn-out idea of the divine right of kings faded away. In modern history, fascist and communist movements arose, and their leaders believed that they had a new and better world order. Nazi and Marxist ideologies vied for power across a very divided Europe. During the World Wars, Western nations harnessed the advances of the Industrial Revolution to produce incredible war machines that would wreak havoc and destruction across the cities of Europe and around the world. During World War II, Allied forces sent British and American planes to bomb out nearby Nazi strongholds along the Danube River. To this day, the Hungarian army digs out bombs that they found at newly dug construction sites or at the bottom of the Danube River. Just a short walk from where I'm standing, you can find ruins of buildings that Russian soldiers once frequented. And just a short hike from here is a site where Russians manned anti-aircraft artillery guns to protect the city from possible air invasions. About a half a mile from here is the famous Memento Park, also called the Statue Park, where tourists come from all over the world to see the old Soviet-era statues that once occupied the squares of Budapest. There you can see the likenesses of Marx and Engels and Stalin and Lenin. And just a few hundred yards behind me is a natural gas connection point that reminds me of the current political and energy crisis going on in Europe. Hungary receives gas piped in from the north, from Ukraine, as well as from the west of here, from Austria. Political leaders are all wondering if and when Russia will invade our neighbors to the north in Ukraine. Kingdoms and empires come and go, but we do know that God is in control and God is with his people. The conflicts and crises caused by power-hungry rulers existed in the distant past and continues to the present. We don't know what the horizon holds for us, but we do know that God is with us. We also know that we can turn to the Holy Scriptures to find how God worked with his people in past global crises. And from the Bible, we can learn how God is guiding all of humanity into a culmination according to his plan. You know that Jesus gave us a commandment to go into all the world and teach all peoples about his gospel. Jesus gave us the authority to take this gospel to all people when he said, "All power is given to me under heaven and earth." The world seems chaotic, uncertain, and frightening, but we do know that God is with us. Why? Because Jesus said that he would be with us. He said, "Behold, I am with you always, even to the end of the age." So no matter where we go, remember that Christ is with us in the crisis.